Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name's Mel. Thank you so much for joining me today for a Friday favourites video, my 5 favourite authors. So I've decided to go with 5 favourite authors today, partly because of the alliteration of Friday favourite 5. And partly because, honestly, finding favourite authors is actually kind of tricky because I have decided that I have to have read 3 distinct works from the author in order for the author to be a favourite. So what I mean by that is, for example, J.R.R. Tolkien wrote The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, and I'm including them together because they're essentially the same part of the same story, is some of my favourite books of all time, but I've not read anything that Tolkien wrote that wasn't about The Lord of the Rings, about Middle-earth. So although the works are some of my favourite, I haven't read anything else to allow Tolkien himself to be a favourite author under this particular rating scale. Partly I'm doing it in this way because honestly, otherwise I'd probably have like 20 favourite authors. But also I just think that in order to be able to say that this author is outstanding and I absolutely love so much of their work, regardless of what they're writing, I have to have read at least 3 distinct works. So another example of who I can't count is Robin Hobb, because although I absolutely adore the Realm of the Elderling series, and it is one of my favourite series of all time, I've not read anything else by Robin Hobb. And I have also not read anything else by Megan Lindholm, which I think is Robin Hobb's actual name. Robin Hobb's definitely a pen name. I think Megan Lindholm is her actual name. But either way, I have not read any of her works, Megan's works. So they can't count as a favourite author. So I have to have read that author's 3 distinct works, whether it be 3 different series or whether it be 3 different standalones. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. But anyway, let's get into it. There is no order to this. So the first person on my favourite authors of all time list is Joanne Harris. Joanne Harris is probably most famous for Chocolat, which was also made into a beautiful movie. I do not remember when, sometime in the early 2000s, starring Johnny Depp and Juliette Binoche. If you have not read/watched this book /movie, then I highly recommend it. It is beautiful. I think it's really, really well written. I love Joanne Harris's turn of phrase. I love the way she weaves magic and magical realism into so many of her books. I don't know how many books of hers I've read. I know I haven't read all of her books. I believe she published a book recently which was potentially called Honeycomb? Something like that, something to do with bees and honey, which I have not read. I would definitely really want to get my hands on it and read it, but I haven't read it yet. Yes, so I've not read all of her books, but all of the books that I have read of hers, which has been definitely more than 3, I don't even recall how many, to be honest, I have absolutely loved. Like I said, I think that Joanne Harris has an absolutely stunning writing style. It is very whimsical and very lyrical and just beautiful. She has a lovely, lovely turn of phrase. It's almost like a classic, the way that she writes, although she's a modern author, her writing style almost feels like a classic in the way that it's written. A lot of her books, it features some kind of magical realism sort of trope. Some of them, it just feels magical even if it's not. Some of them, there is 100% some kind of magical element woven through. But either way, Joanne Harris is 100% one of my favourite authors of all time. The next person that I'd like to talk about is Liane Moriarty. Now, I didn't like the most recent book of hers that I read very much, which is What Alice Forgot, unfortunately. And also 9 Perfect Strangers, which I think potentially is one of her most well-known books, is not the best of hers. However, I absolutely adore Big Little Lies and Truly Madly Guilty. They are my 2 favourite books of hers, and I also really, really loved The Husband's Secret. I actually am not certain whether I've read other books, so I've had 2 that I didn't love, and I have 3 that I love. So I'm now questioning whether she should be on this list. But I think overall I have really liked more books of hers that I've disliked. So I would still say she is one of my favourite authors. And given that I am going on I can't include an author I have to have read different books from. I don't even know if I'm making sense. You can have an author who is a favourite author who's still written a book you didn't love, I think, is my point. But anyway, Leanne Moriarty is one of the authors who is a favourite author of mine. Next up is Laurie R. King. So Laurie R. King has actually written a variety of different books. She has 2 fairly long series. So one that is still ongoing is the Mary Russell series, and I've talked about this a few times on my channel. I haven't finished this series, even though it is one of my favourite series of all time. So yeah, anyway, I haven't finished it, but I love it. This is a series that features Mary Russell, and it is a reimagining of Sherlock Holmes, and it is imagining that it is a retired Sherlock Holmes, so he's in his 60s, and he has retired from police work, ostensibly anyway, and retired to the Sussex Downs when Mary Russell quite literally stumbles into him, runs into him, and they form a very unlikely friendship and a very unlikely apprenticeship, but it works really well. Mary Russell is only 15 when they meet, but she's more than a match for him, and they become, like I said, she becomes his apprentice, and then a partnership forms. So they're a mystery series, beautifully written. Mary Russell is one of my favourite characters in the world. She is so feisty and feminist and just so intelligent, and I just love Mary Russell. I love that series so much. But I still have read other books of Laurie R. King's, so I absolutely adore the couple of standalones that I've read of hers, one of which is called Folly. I was going to say Touchstone, but actually I think Touchstone is the first in a series, and I've read both of the books that are technically in that series, but I actually think that they're not really that connected. And then she has another series, which is the Kate Martinelli series, which I love as well. Folly is sort of more of a domestic thriller mystery. The rest are definitely thriller mystery type books. The Kate Martinelli series, we follow Kate, who is an actual detective for the San Francisco Police Department in the 90s. And yeah, I think she's an amazing author. I think she's a really intelligent author. I love the way she writes. I love her female characters that she creates, and I just highly recommend all of her books. Absolutely amazing. Then we have Neil Gaiman. So Neil Gaiman, as most people probably know, wrote a number of different books, and I've really enjoyed every single thing that I've read of his. It's been a long time since I've read American Gods or Anansi Boys, but I remember really enjoying both of them when I read them. I think the most recent book that I read of his was probably Stardust, although that was a reread for me. But before that, it would have been the Graveyard book. But yeah, I have read a lot of his books. I've never read his comics. I've never read any of the Sandman comics, although now that I'm getting more into graphic novels and comics, I might go back and read some. But all of his actual novels I have loved. None more than Good Omens, which brings me to my final author on this list, which is Terry Pratchett. Now, Terry Pratchett is most widely known for the Discworld series, and certainly under my aforementioned rules, you would think that probably I could only say Terry Pratchett. I couldn't say Terry Pratchett was a favourite author because mostly he's known for the Discworld, and that is mostly what I've read of his. However, I have read Good Omens, which is the book he wrote with Neil Gaiman. It's quite different from the Discworld, and I love it. It's one of my favourite books of all time. And he also wrote a couple of other non-Discworld standalones, which I've read also. One is called Nation, and I honestly can't remember what the other one is called, but I know that I've read more than the Discworld from Terry Pratchett and loved Terry Pratchett as an author as well. He is so funny, he is so irreverent, he is so intelligent, and yeah, just an amazing author. So those are my top 5 favourite authors for Top 5 Favourite Friday. Please let me know in the comments below who your favourite authors are. How would you go about making that decision? Would you be like me and say you have to have read 3 distinct works, or are you just going to go off a gut of, well, I love the Elderling series, so Robin Hobb? Yeah, let me know all that in the comments below. If you'd like to leave me a comment but you don't know what, then leave me some kind of love heart emoji, because we are talking about authors and books that we love. All of my social media details are listed in the description below, so if you'd like to go and follow me on any of those other platforms, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I would absolutely love it if you would subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up. And yeah, Like I said, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.